How's it going, everybody? Jacob Kelly here inside the SFCBL. We are here with one of, if not the original member of the SFCBL, Vince Farfaglia. Vince, you've done so many things for the league now, and now you've gone into a ownership role where you own 3 teams. But what did you originally do with the league? What did you bring to the table, bringing the SFCBL to be?
Well, thanks, Jacob, for having me here today. It's really an incredible thing that we've really created down here in South Florida, and an incredible opportunity. I originally founded the league back in 2011 when this was nothing, when it was just simply a couple summer college teams that were looking for games to get in. I came in and I organized a 6-team league and founded the actual South Florida Collegiate Baseball League entity and commissioned it up until 2023. So now we're going into the 2025 season, and I am the owner, president, and general manager of the Boynton Beach Buccaneers, Delray Beach Lightning, and the Boca Raton Blazers. So if anybody knows me, they'll know that I led by example. I have zero ego about doing anything. If you come to the games, you'll see I am the janitor, I'm the announcer, I am the founder, I'm the GM. I will do any job and anything it is necessary to make sure everything runs smoothly.
Yeah, that's something that I was going to get to later. So, I worked with you last year. I was the broadcaster for the Delray Beach Lightning, and something that every single home game that we saw, especially when there was, a doubleheader or if there was bad weather, which we saw a lot of last year, was you were so hands-on with the goings-on, the day-to-day festivities, with the game day. Why is that important to you to be out there, put in the sweat, put in the work to make sure this all works, as well as the, outside the field, the general manager side?
Sure. That's a complex answer, but what I can basically tell you is that the kids deserve it. We need to do right by these kids. And it's really important to make sure that as an owner and as a GM, that you do everything possible you can to get the games in. You have players and families that are coming in from all different parts of the nation, as far as ways of even Hawaii, New York, Texas, Arizona. So it's really good to lead by example. So you really want to show the kids that you're working for them and that you're doing everything you possibly can to make sure that you get the games. And as people know, South Florida, the weather is dicey. It's very interesting because some days, and you can remember, like, we'll go a month without rain, and then you just have that 1 week where it's like bang, bang, bang. And I'm out there hours before the game working on the field to make sure that we can possibly do everything, in fact, to get the games in. So whether it's doing the fields, doing quick dry, I'm out there with a flat shovel, like, trying to get water off the field to speed up the drying process. So we'll do everything we possibly can to get the games in.
And I don't think a lot of people truly realize what it takes into even just a summer league game, let alone the higher levels you go, how difficult it is to get a field prepared, make sure everybody's there on time. All the goings on that goes on with a baseball team, that's difficult for just one team. You own 3 teams. How did it come to be to own not just 1 but 3 teams in this league?
The demand, we've always done right by our kids, and I've always had the player first, finances second mentality, which I believe has helped me have the longevity that I've had with being successful with putting a good program together and developing the league into what it is today. So it was purely on demand. If you take care of these kids and you show them that not only you can be somebody that's side by side and a stepping stone in their career, but somebody that they look up to for advice and someone that's going to help them get to the next level. I think that created such a demand that I was getting sent players from different programs, and people would hear about what kind of great experience they had down here in South Florida. So it just was more demand. I needed more space to be able to put more players. I have certain schools, and everybody that knows my teams, I pretty much get the same schools that send me players every single year for the last 10 years. So some of those schools started out giving us just 1 or 2 guys, and now it's turned into like, holy cow, like the University of Kentucky is sending us 9 players. So you got to be able to divide them up against multiple teams to make sure that that you can produce and give them the experience that they're expecting and they deserve.
Yeah, and to do that, you need a established relationship with the schools. But something that I also noticed last year is the relationship you have with the players it's very easy to, if you're going to be an owner, if you're going to be a GM, to take care of the overhead duties and then let the coaches coach, let the players play. But as well as being on the field, taking care of putting the field together, something I noticed is the good relationship you have with your players, to be able to talk to them, not as an owner, but as a person, both in terms of helping them, both in terms of just personality, being able to relate to them on that level. Where did that come from? Does that come from a baseball background where you're familiar with what it's like to be a baseball player? Where did that come from, to be able to establish that relationship with baseball players?
So everything that they're going through, I did. And I lived as a player myself in college. On the other side of it, when I got done playing, I scouted for 2 years, and that really gives me the insight. And I learned from some of the best and most notable scouts in Florida on how to evaluate a player. Guys like Joe Arnold, guys like Nick Presto, who is our league commissioner, who took me under his wing at a young age. I played for Joe Arnold. He was the director of scouting for the East Coast for the Yankees for 11 years, and I played for him in college. And he really was the one that gave me the tools and taught me how to really evaluate the game. But as a player, I always considered myself a student of the game. I was always a guy that was locked in 1 through 9 to the last out, really just evaluating the game. So I think that knowledge, and along with the scouting and administrative side of the game, has really given me that insight to connect with these guys on multiple different levels. We want to see these guys succeed. And when they join the Lightning, the Bucks, or the Blazers, or the league in general, they become South Florida Collegiate League family. So I want to do everything I possibly can to connect with these guys and help get them to the next level and teach them things. Like it's developmental, but it's not. It's super competitive, and it's developmental in the fact that you are teaching these guys from the mistakes. Now, some of these guys, they might not play at Vanderbilt University yet, or they might not be the starting center fielder at FAU, but they want to become that and take that spot and take that role on their teams, and eventually go on to play professional ranks, and a small percentage end up going on to the big leagues. So we want to basically guide them and teach them and help develop them and give them immediate feedback on what's going on and what they're doing in the game. Because when you're playing the game as opposed to looking outside the fence, you see a lot more things the game speeds up on you a lot of times when you're playing, and as opposed to when you're scouting or in evaluating a game, things tend to slow down a little bit more, and you can point out certain things to certain guys to improve on.
So when you're trying to bring a kid in, or you're having a kid even offered to you from the likes of Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and all over the world, as you mentioned, what are some characteristics you look for in a player, whether it be ability or off the field?
So we trust in the college programs that send us the players. Like I said, we've been doing and hosting guys from the same schools for 10 plus years. So when a coach calls me up, they know if they send me a player, I'm going to get them the work that they need to get. They're going to get 100 plate appearances, or if it's a pitcher, he's going to pitch in a certain role. And we communicate with them a couple weeks prior to the season starting again, to make sure, like, hey, is John Doe, you told me back in the fall that you wanted them to play shortstop. Is that still the plan? Or do you want him to play third? Are you, maybe sometimes a guy moves to the outfield, we need to get this guy repped in the outfield. So we are always communicating. And the coaches know the level of what we play at, and they're going to send us guys that they think are good quality players. They're going to be impact players with a chance to play professional baseball in the future. So I really just kind of default to them, and with them knowing the knowledge of what our league is.
And in your time with the league, whether it be who they grew up to be, whether it be what you saw them do at the next level, who are some guys that stand out to you that you've gotten to work with here in the SFCBL that have gone on to do great things, whether it be in a professional sense or just seeing them grow as men?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that have gone on and played in the big leagues that have called this home for the summer for themselves and have been a stepping stone in their careers. I think probably the most surprising out of the group is Nolan Shanuel, not because of his talent level, just because it happened so quickly. You're talking a guy that was in a Bucks uniform in 2020, and 4 years later, or I'm sorry, not only that, 3 years later, he's starting at first base in a major league game. I mean, that's incredible. And it's pretty cool because one of his teammates that played on my other team, the Lightning, Zach Nieto, played shortstop for the Lightning. Now, Zach, I remember the exact moment that I said, this guy's going to be a big leaguer. And sometimes you just know. Like, after you watch a kid so many times and see him take BP, sometimes we actually end up learning more and knowing these players better than their current college coaches just because we're around them so much. And a guy might be a freshman that he maybe didn't play or he redshirted because of the injury. And that was Zach Nieto's situation where he came from Campbell. But I remember watching Zach, and he played second base that game, and there was a chopper up the middle that went over the pitcher's mound, and usually on that second bounce, it kind of takes off on you. And he made a play from second base. It was just way too easy. I mean, it looked like an MLB show to play easy. Just boom, boom, perfect footwork right on the money. And I was just like, that was way too easy. So, and then there's some other guys that just super surprise you, like Cedric Mullins for the Orioles. I mean, Cedric was a 300 hitter here. I mean, he does hold the triples record for the league, but like a guy like him, he was an undersized junior college kid that had a good summer, but it wasn't like, holy cow, like this guy is going to be a first rounder, and he's now in his 8th season in the major leagues. So you just never know, and these guys, they're just, every one of them in that age group of 18 to 21, especially the younger guys, there's so much untapped potential. And it really is a matter of how they develop in those first 2 years to how to get to where they want to be at and how they advance. But to get back to what you were saying is that there's guys that you know right off the bat that are going to be big leaguers within like 2 to 3 weeks. Guys like Mason Black, I said he's going to be a big leaguer, no doubt. Guy like CJ Alexander, who's with the Athletics now. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind that he was going to make it. And then there were some other guys like Caleb Durbin too. And for you guys out there, he was super relevant recently. He was the main trade player from Devin Williams getting traded from the Brewers to the Yankees. Now, Caleb was a Division III player at an academic Division III school, Washington University at St. Louis. Now, if you told me that he was going to be a big leaguer, I would have been really hard-pressed to believe it. But he just made some major jumps, and he was always a hard worker. I mean, he was always the type of kid that, like, just never got outworked. And that's really a big thing, is the work ethic. You can see when the kids get here who wants to work, who wants to get better. And the guys that work, the guys that show up early, the guys that get their reps in, the guys that are serious about it are usually the ones that tend to go further. And you're going to see Caleb. He's probably going to start at second base for the Brewers this year. He was tabbed to be the starting second baseman for the Yankees. And then the Yankees got Devin Williams, which, as a Yankees fan, I was sad to see Caleb go because living in 20 minutes from Yankee Stadium half the year, I would have loved to have been able to see him play. But also, Devin Williams is one of the best bullpen arms in the country. So, but I'm very
hard to
proud
say
of
no to
Caleb.
that.
Yeah, it's hard to say no to that. But Caleb, I'm just so proud of the way he came on, and he had an incredible Arizona Fall League this year, and really came on and made a huge impact in his organization.
So something you did mention there, and also some of you guys more keen-eared, know it's a little bit of an accent with a few of the words that you say. You are from the Northeast. You do spend about half the year up there, and you do own your own construction company up there. So tell us about what that split is like, going from the owner of a construction company in the Northeast to ownership of 3 teams here in the SFCBL. What kind of split do you see that in your life?
Yeah, so everything in my life is on a calendar. Everything is on a timeline. Pretty much have it down to a science. But baseball is my love. You know, this is what makes me happy. This is what I originally started out in my life doing. And I started getting into real estate investments around 2013, and I did that from up until COVID, and COVID exacerbated the real estate market to rising prices and supply shortages. And I had always done the work on all my properties personally, and basically had said, okay, well, there's going to be a shortage of properties and investment opportunities, so I might as well get licensed and do projects for other people. So I've been doing that now for the last 5 years, and I do that also in Florida, but mostly in New Jersey and the 5 boroughs of New York City. Spend 6.5 months here in Florida and about 5.5 months up north. Growing up in New York, I love being in the city. I love being close to Yankee Stadium. You can't beat the Jersey Shore in the summertime. It's really a magical place. But, you know, being a person that played college baseball in Florida and living here and being a Florida resident, I love being here. as well. So it's the best of both worlds, and I get kind of that juggling act where I know like a certain time of year, like May, June, and July is baseball. August, I'm doing recruiting to fill the rosters. That usually goes into a little bit about September, and then pretty much September, October, November, December, January, February, I'm doing construction and real estate projects.
And it is such a different type of environment going from construction to baseball. You're looking at two very different industries, looking at the labor industry. And baseball, the hopes is for these kids, it will be an entertainment industry. They're making it to the big leagues, providing entertainment, playing the game that they love. Are there traits that you've learned from one or the other, whether that be the construction and the other aspects of labor work that you've done, mixing in with the baseball, that has helped on either side make you be a better owner?
I think just the hard work. And I mean, I think everything that you do on the field translates to what happens off the field. And I tell that to my players a lot, is that how you work and how you carry yourself on the field is going to translate into real life, whether that's a marriage, having kids, being a good father, being a successful business owner. Because think about it, the percentage of kids that get drafted, okay, about, I believe it's between 12 to 15% of those kids that get drafted will make it to the big leagues. So even after you get drafted, chances are you are not in your favor to get to the big leagues. Now, a lot of guys do. A lot of guys get a cup of coffee. A lot of guys end up having that opportunity to play in the big leagues. But, 85%-ish of the guys are going to do something other in their career. So I always tell my guys, and I live my life like this, that what you do and how you carry yourself on the field translates off the field and into real life. So carrying that work ethic between both baseball and construction is really how I've been able to do it myself.
Okay, I'd like to pull it back a little bit more towards the league side of things here. The league has grown pretty well over the last 5 years, 10 years or so, really seeing the talent come through, and you've seen the fruits of the talent in here make it to the big leagues, and you're going to assume and hope that you only see better and better talent come through the SFCBL. So on a 3, 5, 10-year basis, what is your vision for where this league will be in that time?
Really, the biggest thing, and I think this is something that I discussed with other people that I've worked with that are now administratively in the league, is I really want to see more opportunities for pitchers to get into the league. And I'd like to see the more local community put and invest more money into helping these kids out and giving scholarships to better players and pitchers to get into the league. I think it's really tough sometimes because the country has just gotten so expensive over the years. The cost of living is very high. Food costs are high. And I think it's very tough for an average family to afford to send a kid to South Florida to play for the summer and make that sacrifice. So one of the things that I've always really tried to do, and it's always been a hurdle, is the fundraising part of it and giving that money as scholarships to the players to help them out and help get them an opportunity. We did this a couple years ago with the HBCU colleges and universities, and it was phenomenal. Those kids, I really got to know a lot of them and develop great relationships with them. They were super nice guys and super appreciative. And you know what? Maybe some of those guys will end up going on and playing professional baseball, and being such an impact in their life was really rewarding. So that's one of the big things that I'd like to see is being able to raise enough money to say to a kid from Louisiana or Illinois or wherever that can't and doesn't have the finances but really wants to work here and really wants to play here, to get here and give him an academic scholarship, I think should be a really big focus of the league. And it always has been. It's just been a really big hurdle to get over.
Yeah, if you see all those things you just mentioned come to fruition, you can only help but expect that the league will continue to grow, and therefore what you're able to do for these kids are able to continue to push them forward both in life, on and off the field. So when a kid does join your team, what are your expectations for them, and as well as what should their expectations be for you coming in as an owner?
Sure, great question. The biggest thing is that we want them to show up every day to work. We want them to show up on time. We want them to show up for early work. We want them to give it all. I mean, we know that every kid is not going to succeed here. And we understand that guys that are graduated seniors in high school going into their freshman year are going to struggle. Nolan Shanuel, we mentioned his name earlier. I remember we sat down at Kaiser University, and he, in his first few weeks in the league here, struggled a lot. And he's just like, God, like, what am I doing? And I'm like, just take a step back. Just have confidence in what got you to the point where you're at right now and reset your mind and your focus. And now a guy like that, we work with him in the cages and he gets early work with our coaches to try to figure things out. But he was struggling with off speed. And guys that are getting to that level here and coming from high school going into their freshman year are going to struggle. Guys that redshirted are going to struggle at first because they're going to be introduced to a higher level of play. So our expectation is for them just simply to show up hard. We understand that guys are going to struggle. This isn't the Cape Cod League. And guys even struggle up there that get into that situation. We know our role, we know our niche, and we just want guys that are dedicated, loyal, and that are going to work hard. And the expectations on our side is that we're going to give them our all. Our coaches are going to be there to work with them on off days, and that are going to be there early before on-field BP to work with them and get them to the point of they need to be at. Now, if it's a pitcher, if he needs to develop an out pitch, we're going to do everything we possibly can to help get him to the next level. During their short boxes and their bullpens, our pitching coaches and our pitching rover, Todd Nozier, also helps with pitch development and mechanics and if a guy is struggling. So we are there 100%. Our guys are there simply for them throughout the whole summer, and we want our guys to work and ask us to help out.
And it seems like you're really good at finding those guys that are willing to work hard on top of the talent that they already possess, just on the basis of recent history. Last year, all three of the teams that you own made the playoffs and were competitive in the playoffs. Didn't finish the job with any of them. However, we saw the talent you put together on the field. What is your expectations for the three teams that you put together this year? What do you see when you look at the crop of talent you have?
You know, it's tough to tell. Everything on paper always looks good, but it's just a lot. I mean, it's a big difference. I mean, I can remember one of the summers that I played in the New York Collegiate League as myself as a player. There was 11 guys that went professionally. And on that team, I'm going to name the big leaguers: Mike Fiers, J.D. Martinez, Miles Michaelis, and there were two other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head. We won 10 games that summer. We won 10 games that summer. And, my buddy JD and I, we ended up being all-stars together that summer, and it started a great relationship between us that still lasts this day. But it really just depends on how guys work together as a team and how the chemistry is and who wants to work hard. So on paper, everything looks good. I mean, you look at the schools and you look at where the guys are coming from, and just in the short period of the first series, you see which guys are playing and which guys are going to come in, ready to go right from the beginning, and then some of the guys that might take a little few weeks to get acclimated because they had redshirted maybe. But on paper, it looks good, but it just is a matter of what happens when you get everybody together on the field and see what happens. But this group is going to be very, very, very talented again. I suspect there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to play professionally out of this group of 105 players.
Baseball's a funny sport. Just because you have all the best talent doesn't mean you're going to get the best results. I mean, we see that at all levels of the game, that just because you have quote-unquote the best team doesn't always end up producing. But what I've seen from you, at least my 1 year working with you, is you are good at putting that talent together and then getting them to compete at a high level. So as we come to a conclusion here, we're in a really blessed position here. We get to see these kids try to live out their dreams. We're helping them along the way. I say we. You're helping them along the way. The other owners, the other coaches are helping them along the way. Do you ever just get to sit back and sort of say, smell the flowers and enjoy this for what it is in spite of all the hard work you're putting in? Are you able just to sit back and say, you know what, this is really cool what we get to do?
Yeah, I think night games at Little Fenway kind of give you that ambiance. It's really a magical place. You look at those grounds and you just think about the amount of major leaguers that have played on the field, and you look at a guy that's a freshman and you say, man, you know what, 4 to 5 years ago from now I might be seeing this guy in a big league uniform on TV. So I think one of the phrases that we used to that we came up with years ago was something to do with seeing baseball's future stars today. So you really kind of just sit back and you look and you say, wow, like this guy could really be something someday and end up having an incredible career, and we're just a stepping stone in their path. So it really is nice to do that. I like Little Fenway. That's a great atmosphere for it, especially with Bucky Dent building the Green Monster, and me being a Yankees fan, it feels like home, especially top of the seventh. Yeah, obviously I wasn't even close being born, but I'm a big diehard Yankees fan. So, Bucky built that. For those of you who don't know, Little Fenway is a replica field park of Little Fenway or Fenway Park, but on the Green Monster, it has the score, the exact inning, the exact count of when Bucky Dent hit the game-winning home run in the 1978 ALCS against the Red Sox. So he built it. He lives here in Delray. So it's a really cool ambiance for guys to play at, and the pitchers do like playing there because it keeps a lot of home runs in.
It is. It's a beautiful park. It's a beautiful atmosphere, especially like you said, those night games. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be the commentator for the Lightning last year, who did play at Little Fenway, and seeing all the families out, seeing the dogs out, seeing people out there having a good time, and seeing the kids try to live out their dreams and get better. And one final question that I have for you is revolving to those kids on the play in playing. We saw last year in the playoffs, there can be a little bit chippiness of between the players in terms of their competitive nature. And what do you think that says for the league that, yes, it's a developmental league, however, these kids still care about winning at the end of the day?
Oh, man, it's a competitive nature. It's 100 degrees. Everybody's got everybody's super competitive. So, tempers flare sometimes, but at the end of the day, we're trying to win a baseball game. And that's what it comes down to. That's what we're trained to do, man. We're competitive beasts. That's what we did our whole lives as players. And, obviously you can't get too competitive because this is trying to get better, but you obviously, like to win because it's good for the soul and good for development. But at the end of the day, we want to get these guys better. Of
course, that is ultimately the end goal. And Vince, thank you very much for your time here.
Absolutely.
It's been very insightful, learning what your role is with the league, learning what you've done for the league, and just really appreciate what you've done here today, as well as you've done and will continue to do for the league. So thank you very much for your time.
Very much. I'm very excited for the 2025 season. It's going to be a fun summer.
Yes, sir. We're only a few months away from baseball action. We'll be starting off in the beginning of June. We'll be looking forward to seeing you guys then. Till then, we'll see y'all next time. Jake Kelly, Vince here, signing off. Take care, everybody.